clubpod.co, clubpod.co, clubpod.co.
Hi folks, this is part 2 of this podcast thing I'm doing for my site clubpod.co, that's clubpod.co. Now in the first part I was going to do it all together, but I split it up to make it a bit easier. I was pointing out that everyone under the sun's copying the clubpod, I'm just looking at something that mind wandered. Everyone's copying this ClubHouse formula. It'll be on everywhere. Twitter seemed to have a virtually identical version of what I looked at. And there'll probably be plugins for WordPress sites. You'll be able to do it yourself. Now, at the moment, and I forgot to mention it in part 1, one of the problems that ClubHouse has got is the site they've got at the moment seems to be the Join ClubHouse. Now, I'd imagine they'll have a different domain name for the main, if they do go online. They might not, which if they don't, I'm not sure they'll succeed, because I think to be honest, they'll need to have an online version for people to grow the audience, but it's up to them. However, a lot of people buying these .club domain names, which is a different firm from what I gather to ClubHouse, and as if that having the .club means anything. In reality, I don't see any reason why you can't have a .com, .net, .co, .whatever for your ClubHouse. If you wanted a website for your club, I don't think you really necessarily need a .com .club at the end. However, said that, I've bought some because they're only £1 at the moment. I bought about 10 because at the price they're quite cheap, but I won't keep them, and most I'll just drop if they're not turn out in a year's time to be no value, because they go up in price. I don't fancy paying out £100 for something I'm not really going to use. But for a punt, I'd suggest buying 1 or 2, or even a few, just in case. But I was listening to a debate on ClubHouse the other night, and I think it was a woman. She was either associate, I think she was part of the company that sells .clubs domains, and of course she was encouraging everyone to buy them. But people were buying them thinking these are going to be something they can sell on. So I think somebody had one like travel.club. Now, it might be useful for some travel agents and things like that, but I don't think people are going to necessarily buy them because they want to start a club on ClubHouse. You see, one of the things is, if they do a web-based thing, it'll probably be like Facebook and every other single site where you can register the name on ClubHouse. So I'll give you an example. If you was called, I don't know, Tree, if you wanted Tree as a ClubHouse name, you'll get /Tree and so on. Now, and already you can put your details. The ClubHouse things seem to have a page where you can add some information, and I'd imagine that'll improve as time goes on, so it'll get more. You can add more info and more info. So having a club.club domain name seems, it seems a bit pointless, I suspect, because I don't think within a few months, unless ClubHouse messes up, you'll just use that. People aren't going to go offline or come off the phone to look at a web page when it's on the phone, if you see what I mean. Now, they might use it as a nicer link. So instead of let's say you've got Facebook, your page might be facebook.com/Ian Smith's onion shop in the USA type thing, which will be long. Well, you could just have maybe Ian's Onions or something .club, if you see what I mean. and point directly to that, and it'd be sharp. It's just a bit sharper, if you see what I mean. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think a lot of people are buying these. Those listening, thinking, oh, they're going to sell them for millions. And I'm not sure who's going to really want them, because most people will want the .com or .co, some cases .net, .org. Once you get past them, the value drops. It was like a few years ago, everybody bought .mobile or something, whatever it was, because everybody thought that was going to be the big thing, because it was before the internet kicked in on the internet, on the mobile phones, just a few years before, very shortly, they had WAP, was it? WAP. And that was like a very basic text-based version, very basic, of the internet. Because everyone didn't think the mobile phones could cope with web pages. And so they just stuck to this WAP format. And some called it wait and pay, because it was slow and costly and it was ugly. And I think a lot of people bought .mobi domain names thinking that's going to be the big thing. It wasn't. And a lot of people do these things. They buy them thinking they're going to be the essential ones. Now, most major firms will have bought the domain names they want. It's unlikely they'll want anything. So, you know, if you're thinking you're going to sell these to some big firm, which is what they were talking about, so, oh yeah, this firm will buy that. No, I don't see it. Because they'll buy, I'd imagine that Nike could, if you bought, say, Nike.club, and Nike didn't own it, I think they could take it straight off you, because it's such a proper name. If you bought football boots, obviously, unless there's a major company called Football Boots, it's a bit different. But yeah, buy them by all means, but I won't put them on renew unless you do use them, because the ones I've got, I'm literally just going to drop most of them or give them away. Because I bought a few the same and they're quite handy to have, but I'm not really interested in selling them for money, because I don't think they've got great value to it, to be honest. And I think they're just something some people may find of use if these .clubs. It's just to protect. I got them just to protect a few friends and companies that I know, because they haven't bought them, and I thought, heck with it. So at least they've got, I can just transfer it to them rather than planning on making money. I mean, like I said, at the moment, unless they're like expensive where you are, I got them for £1 each. It's worth a punt at £1. If they were £10, I wouldn't bother. If they were more than £10, I certainly wouldn't bother, unless there was some real evidence they're going to be some use. Now, as I say, in the first part of this, you might all be getting excited over ClubHouse, and it might not be around in a year's time, or it might change. I mean, don't forget, Facebook, when I believe started off as the Facebook, and then changed to Facebook. Now, so ClubHouse could change its name completely overnight, or they could be sold, or they could just shut down. I mean, you see, the thing is, if everyone does this version, which everyone's copies each other, no, I said in the first vid, if you look at most websites now, they basically do the same as each other. The Twitter lets you post vids, and every other does. I think Twitter lets you do live broadcasts, which, you know, you can do that on YouTube and all the others. So the similarities are it's just really now down to what format you like the look of. And the trouble is, people just pick up on, they'll take the best bits from ClubHouse and incorporate into their own site. But yeah, like I said, this is just a quick one. Don't panic buy about these .clubs, because I don't think they're going to be as valuable as you think. But as I say, it might be worth having it as a punt just in case, because you don't want to find you need it in years to come and someone's taking it. So let's just see. I mean, I'm a bit bored with ClubHouse already. I've only been on it a week or two. It's not as exciting as it first started. Let's see, battery's almost dying on this thing. So my little blog thing, and I'll do everything free. Everything's free on my site. I don't charge anything. It's clubpod.co for podcasting and bits and bobs. Just general thoughts. Alright then, bye.
ClubHouse.co